Okay, great. Welcome everyone to our meeting. Um, to get things started, of course, I have some obligatory comments to share with you. So let me read this message to everyone at the meeting. This hearing of the Medford Community Development Board is being conducted via remote means. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022. A reminder that anyone who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by accessing the link that was included in the meeting agenda posted on the City of Medford website. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, we will post a recording of this meeting on the city's website as soon as possible. A reminder that given the remote nature of this meeting tonight, all votes from the board will be made by roll call. Thank you, and again, welcome. My name is Dave Blumberg. Nice to see all of you. Please know that project materials for all projects before the board can be viewed on the city's website. That's medfordma.org, most easily by clicking on boards and commissions, scanning down to Community Development Board, clicking through, and taking a look at current CD board filings. We have a larger than usual number of items on our agenda for this evening. Many people who are waiting to be heard. So I'll do my best to help us move efficiently through the docket. We'll start with roll call attendance of members of the board. And so I've already introduced myself as the chair. Vice Chair, Jackie Furtado.
Present.
Deanna Peabody.
Present.
Claes Andreasen.
Present.
Emily Hedeman.
Present.
George Fisher.
Present.
And do we have Christy Dowd?
Yes, present.
Okay, there you are. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm still driving home, so I'll put my video on when I'm safe in the house.
Okay, good to have you with us.
Thanks.
Okay, first item on the agenda tonight concerns 15 and 17 Winthrop Place, a request for a bond reduction. Matt Roman, Mr. Roman of Brown Dog Companies, you're here with us tonight.
Hi, thank you, everybody.
Hi,
Back again.
nice to see you back. Absolutely,
Nice to see you.
recurring guest on the board videos. Just to sort of cut to the chase for you, I understand that you are requesting a return of the balance of this bond. It's an amount that's been reduced over time as your company has hit certain construction thresholds or milestones along the way. And tonight's the night you want to ask for a return of the balance or the remainder of that bond. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, great. And do you want to just mention, and you don't need to go into any detail, but just 30 to 60 seconds of where you're at?
Sure. So, yep. So the project is two new homes that were built to passive house standard. So they are ultra energy efficient. There's no fossil fuel. They're all electric homes. Not a lot of them being built here yet. These were my brother and I's second and third homes that we've done. We're now completing our fourth and fifth in another town. These homes have been done for over a year and have been lived in, and the people love them. They're great. They're super comfortable homes, and the work's been done. It's more administratively getting everything signed off. We've sort of just dragged our feet in that regard. But everything has been done, and the engineer signed off and said everything, place looks great. We're happy with it. And I think that the city should be pretty happy with it.
Okay, that sounds good. And Amanda, do we have anyone from the city, or do you have a message to convey from the city for everyone's benefit?
Sure. Yeah. So I did discuss with the engineering division and can confirm that they performed a review of all the work done and feel that the conditions are met, and that they are on board to recommend approval for the bond release.
Okay, excellent. Are there any comments from the board? And if not, we can entertain a motion to allow the release of the remainder of the bond.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Excellent. And let me go through the roll call then. Jackie Furtado,
Yes.
Deanna Peabody,
Aye.
Claes Andreasen,
Aye.
Christy Dowd,
Aye.
Emily Hedman,
Aye.
George Fisher,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. We appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, second item on the agenda tonight concerns 121 Riverside and the Medford Housing Authority building there. The Medford Housing Authority will be going through site plan review with us. It's anticipated to occur sometime in November. And understand that part of the site plan review process under the new ordinance is the requirement for a traffic study. Medford Housing is before us tonight to request that we waive that full requirement. And I just want the board to know and to assure them that the ordinance does allow us to make those sorts of waivers or accommodations if we find the circumstances merit them. So I'm not sure who would like to speak on behalf of Medford Housing Authority.
This is Ben Wilson. I'm with Bargman Hendry Archetype. We're an architectural firm working with the Housing Authority on the project. And on the call here, and I apologize, my video is not working for some reason. I got to this link sort of circumscribed through Microsoft, and I think it screwed something up. But so you'll have to trust me. I'm a trustworthy face.
We'll give you a pass for tonight. We use our imagination.
Okay. So Gabe Cicerello is from the Housing Authority. He's on with us, and Brian Ma, who is working with Cambridge Housing Authority and is working as the project manager and development consultant, is also on, as well as Brian. And I'm sorry here, let's see. Brian, can you help me out here, Brian?
With Nick, Brian Zamoga with Nick.
There you go. Okay. I couldn't find you. You got a picture. Okay.
We're the transportation consultant on the project.
With Nietzsche. So our goal here this evening is to talk through the traffic memo that has been submitted with our site plan application, and the request for a waiver on the traffic study. So I think that's really all I can say and add to this conversation, and really should maybe either Gabe or Brian, you can just summarize it for them.
Yeah, Gabe, I don't know if you wanted to go into anything, but I could really kind of summarize what we did on the transportation side real quick, if that's okay with you.
If I could just
Yes.
jump in and just with the understanding we have members of the public who might be watching or following along with the proceedings tonight. And so I would find it of interest. I think other members of the public might. Maybe Mr. Cicerello could address this. And again, just in 1 minute, how does Medford Housing Authority, like, what is it? Is it a state agency? It's a city agency? Like, just give me kind of the mission statement if you can in 60 seconds or less.
Can I jump in too for a second? Sorry.
Sure.
Being that, this is the first time coming in front of us, pretty sure. I'd love a little synopsis of the project itself.
Yeah, I'd love to give that to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Gabe Ciccarello. I'm the Director of Modernization and Procurement for the Medford Housing Authority. So the Medford Housing Authority is an autonomous body. We have both federal and state public housing properties, and we also administer Section 8 vouchers. We have about 850 public housing units and administer about 1,000 Section 8 vouchers. We're coming before you tonight regarding the Salt and Stall project. It is currently a 200-unit elderly disabled development. We are doing a full rehab to the building. And through the process of kind of reconfiguring the interior, we're going to be adding 22 units. There's the existing unit configuration there's 181 bedrooms and 22 bedrooms. Through mixing around the unit configuration and taking up some interior common space, we're able to add 22 units to the development. And there's also an add alternate to increase some of the footprint for our administration office. Our home base, our administration offices are within the Salt and Stall building at 121 Riverside Ave. And the addition or the expansion of the office is not to really accommodate more staff, but just to give the staff that we have there a little more space and just make it a little more workable, because we're in very tight quarters there.
Okay, thank you for the overview. Realizing that we'll go into much more detail on the overall project itself at site plan review. Could someone on your team give us a summary of, again, trying to be brief, not turning it into a full traffic study here at the meeting, but give us a sense of what the impact is and why a full study is not needed.
All right, yeah,
Brian, would
I
you
can
like to speak to that?
Yep, I could speak to that right now, Gabe. So Brian Zamoka, Senior Project Manager at Niche. We were retained by the proponent to basically just take a look at the traffic coming in and out, and how can that be reflected in the future development. So we, as traffic engineers, we take a lot of traffic data. We had one of our employees go out and take traffic counts at the driveway during what we define as the weekday morning and weekday evening peak hours. So, which is the peak times for the commuters on the roadway. So we always want to look at what the impacts the site will have on the commuters. So we took our counts and we came up with a trip generation for the existing development. And then through that, we were able to come up with rates, which is trips per unit, and it came out to be about 0.25 trips per unit. Apply that data to the additional 22 trips, and we get almost nothing. 6 trips in the morning, 7 trips in the evening. So we don't, this is, based on our experience, this is almost negligible traffic added. So, just a full traffic study, I don't think would be warranted, because all it's going to show is you have no impact at all. So, there's a whole lot of technical mumbo jumbo in the memo that I don't really want to go into in the interest of time. But the essence is, it's not going to have any traffic impacts.
Okay, before I turn this to the board for questions, Amanda, do we have comments or city staff who would like to weigh in on this topic for us?
Yes, so I have a comment from Director of Transportation, Todd Blake with the city. He reviewed the memo and waiver request, and his statement was that the memo appears to provide information to support not providing a full traffic study. So this doesn't necessarily mean that there will be no impacts, but just that the full traffic study may not provide more info that would significantly inform determining the project impacts. So essentially saying that he would be comfortable with the memo as was already provided, and does not see the need for a full traffic study.
And Mr. Ciccarello, you're this is a nonprofit organization, so you're trying to keep your costs down. Is that the gist of where we're at?
Yes, as everyone knows, we just had all of our bids come in the last couple of weeks. We're significantly over budget. We're under time constraints, so it's with public housing, it is crazy. We have it's a premium to build affordable housing. It's yeah, every dollar we can save and kind of time we can save is a huge asset.
Okay, let me turn that back unless the MHA team has more to offer. Let me open it up to the board and see if there are any questions from board members.
David, this is Vice Chair Jackie Furtado.
Yes,
I wanted to go on record. I am going to recuse myself from this conversation. It just dawned on me as the gentleman just referred to state funding. I work for the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, which DHCD is under me, and public housing authorities in the state of Massachusetts are under us. So I would have to recuse myself from this conversation.
Okay, well, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
If it does make a difference, the salt install building at 120 Riverside Ave is it's a HUD development. It's a federally funded development. It's not under DHCD's purview. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Just to be on
Just
the
wanted to throw
safe
that in.
side, so that, thank you, just to be on the
I
safe side,
understand.
I think, but thank you for providing that information.
Thanks, Jackie. Any other? Yes, Emily, I see your hand.
Sure. Looking at the traffic study, it looks like it was completed the week of Labor Day. Do you think that had any impact on the traffic counts?
The week of Labor Day, not on Labor Day. So traffic counts were collected Wednesday, September 7th. If anything, one could make the argument that full traffic is restored at that time. And I know that we actually saw as engineers traffic significantly increase, unfortunately, especially along the Pike, which I probably don't have to explain to anybody at this point. But the point being is, yes, traffic was headed to peak during that time.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
That's all. Those are all the questions I have.
Thank you, Emily. Other questions? Okay. If we're favorably inclined to this, we'd consider certainly a motion to approve the request for the acceptance of, what should it be? It's to approve the request to not require a full traffic study for this project, for its site plan review.
Hi, this is Christy Dowd. I'll make a motion to accept whatever you just said.
I'll make a
Sorry.
motion, or I'll second whatever Chris
Long day.
you just said too.
Okay. We made it home. That's good.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Roll call vote then. We'll start with, we can't, Jackie's recused, so we'll pass over Jackie. Deanna. Peabody.
Aye.
Blyce Andreessen,
Aye.
Christy Dowd,
Aye.
Emily Hedman,
Aye.
and George Fisher.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. To the MHA team, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation tonight. We look forward to seeing you with the site plan review.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Have a good
Take care.
evening.
Okay, next item on the agenda, I think we initially had listed the matters with the Tufts properties, but we're going to instead call an audible and go to the informal review that we're going to perform with 142 Mystic Avenue, which is the Great American Beer Hall. And I believe we have Brian Zarthar.
Yes,
Excellent. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too, David.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We do, before we get started, just wanted to say we appreciate your willingness to be here, and as background to the board and members of the public, if they're listening. We understand that you are going to be before us for site plan review at our meeting the last week of October. And in an effort to just do whatever you can to sort of move the process along by the end of the month, you agreed to stop by and have one of these sort of informal sessions with us. And we have seen them work with some success, I think, during the time I've been on the board. it usually works to our benefit and to the proponent's benefit to help move things along. So we appreciate your cooperation in that regard.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in at any point. But I would like to just give a little background of what we're doing.
Yeah, why don't you get started? I just want to make sure the board knows we're not doing a full site plan review. This is one of the informal ones. So we're going to give you feedback and we're going to ask questions. There's not an official public comment period, but we'll do our best to give you good feedback and see where things go from there. But we'll let you take the floor, please.
That's great. And so just a little bit of background about myself. I've been working on Mystic Avenue for the last 20 years, started when I was in high school, part-time property manager, just painting and picking up cigarette butts. And so after college, I went full-time, and the properties I manage are 134 Mystic Ave, 142 Mystic Ave, 151, and 215. And so I also help out at Murray Supply, as actually my great-grandfather was Murray Matrandola's original partner at Murray Supply. So and I've been on Mystic Ave for 20 years, and I love the direction that it's going in, and I feel like this project can really help. But right now, the site is made up of heavy automotive use. We have an auto body shop there. We have a mechanic. We have Eastern Bus with the school buses, and then we have a tow yard really for the city of Somerville. And deep down, I always thought this was not the highest and best use for us, and so I've been searching for a project that made sense. And I started this in 2019 and picked up a lot of traction. And if COVID never happened, I like to think that we'd be open by now, but it did. And so we ended up re-upping the tenants that we have here now. And during that time, I've actually went out and found this great group. And so there's 5 other investors as well as myself that are a part of this team. And we've got Capital One backing us on a 7A loan, as well as the landlords that are committed to building the base build for this building. And so the concept is, if you've been to a modern day brewery, a Night Shift, a Trillium, well, they all have tap rooms of some sort, tap room where you can actually enjoy the beer that they're making. Some of them are made up of a bar, some of them are made up of picnic tables inside, some of them made up of outdoor, indoor. And so our idea really is to take that tap room and really just just make it the star of our concept, meaning that we're not going to be brewing any of our own beer. And we couldn't really do this about 10 years ago just because the craft beer movement hadn't happened yet in Massachusetts and New England. And so over the last 10 years, we've seen Trillium and Night Shift really started, but there's also great breweries out in Western Mass like Oak Home that are doing so well, and they've really become these really nice neighborhood spots where I like to think there's really something for everyone there. And during the daytime, you see a lot of families go there, bring the kids, and then as you go into the night, you see younger couples or families go, and then into the night you see your late 20s, 30-year-olds enjoying themselves. But and we're going to have a really nice indoor area that's going to consist of these long tables. We're not going to actually have a prototypical bar because our motto is best brought together. And if you've ever experienced Oktoberfest in Germany, it's really just long tables and people getting together and complete strangers just enjoying a beer and having fun. And that's the type of atmosphere that we want to create. We also want to have some really unique outdoor space on an outdoor patio that's going to be about 4,600 square feet. So it's pretty big. We're going to have outdoor games and such as Bago and all that. And so the site is big enough to do all this. It's just over 2 acres, and our base building is about 20,000 square feet. Outdoors 4,600. We're going to have a mezzanine level of about 1,500 square feet. Indoor about 2,600 square feet of outdoor. We're hoping to attract a lot of private events from local Medford businesses, Somerville, Cambridge, all that.
So Brian, and I don't want to cut you short, but
yeah,
our meetings, we thrive on the visual. So do you have a little slideshow for us you could walk us through?
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to share my screen.
Let's do it.
Okay.
You should have permissions, Brian. Let me know if you have any trouble.
Let me do it right here. Can you see this?
Yes.
Oh, can you see my screen or am I?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the site as is right now. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. This is night shift, but let me cut to the good stuff. This is all right. Well, this is a floor plan right here. And so here's the first floor. As you can see, we're gonna have like the beer stacks and the food towards the exterior, the perimeter, and then the interior is gonna be made up of tables. And here is, the outdoor patio on the left and the indoor mezzanine. But let me get to the visuals. So right here is our patio from the Mystic Ave view. And you can also see the outdoor mezzanine that we're gonna do. Any questions?
Yeah, board members, if you want to jump in, because it is informal, we can approach it that way as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Your model, the Exhibit 3 or Exhibit C, the landscape plan, and
Yes.
also the elevations and axonometric drawing that you provided as well, all make the site look flat. So has there been any study on the existing topography or how?
Yeah,
the existing
it
site
is
looks?
flat. It is relatively flat right now, but there will be Michael Giuliano, our civil engineer, is working on that. Are you asking about the current condition of the site, or what we'll be building?
Both. I think that we have a existing site plan as well.
Yeah, it's relative. I mean, right now it's the parking lot, so it is pretty flat. But yeah, that will be provided full schematics when we do apply for our building permit.
So the existing site is the parking lot. And
Yes.
about half of the proposed site would also be a parking lot.
Let me go back and show you. Yeah, so right here is so we bumped out the site to accommodate the buses. So we're gonna go back to the original boundary line, but this is where it is gonna go. Right now, it's really it's flat, and it will be a flat parking lot for where the parking is gonna go for this. In the bottom right-hand section, there will be like a loading dock.
I think what's missing from the landscape plans for me is an indication of where stormwater especially will be draining on the
Yep.
site.
So
I
yes,
see lighting is indicated as well. But what's really useful is like a photometric plan that shows, how much lighting is actually being cast across the site.
Okay.
How that's kind of affecting lighting off the site.
we can do a better job of providing you with some additional lighting, but I believe Michael Giuliano's plan is to put some of the storm water right here where the current building is. That's going to be demoed, and there's going to be a tank underneath there.
Okay. There's a little bit of an inconsistency between the building elevation, I believe, which
Okay.
shows another building there. And then the
So
landscape plan
are you
shows
talking about the building
parking.
that's currently there?
I'm not sure what is represented on this drawing because I'm not very familiar with the project.
Okay.
Just at a
Are you
cursory
looking at
glance.
Exhibit B?
Correct.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
looking between
And Exhibit B is
and
a smaller building. It looks to be about half the size of the building on the site.
Okay, I'll take a look. We were going to do a standalone retail building that we're not going to do anymore. That we're just going to make it parking, but I don't know if I'll make that clear for our meeting.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind if I jump in, I believe that was what was on the Exhibit B that folks are referencing. So it sounds like, and Brian, you can confirm that
Yeah.
at this time, that is not going to be pursued in this project.
No, we're not going to do that. It's just going to be a parking.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is the project gonna conform to the required open space for the site?
What is the required open space?
I think it's a zoning requirement, and as it wasn't listed in the permit refusal that was issued by building, my assumption is that the project as proposed meets the requirement. Folks, feel free to correct me if that doesn't feel like a reasonable leap.
Right. So perhaps it's helpful. Sorry, this is Alicia Hunt, the Director of Planning. We've been meeting with Mr. Zarthar for a while about this project, and his intention and design that he worked with his architects was to not require any variances for this project. So the permit refusal letter, the building department agreed that the plans that he has submitted to them, the project does not actually require any variances. So this project is being referred to the planning board for site plan review, and this board will be the permit granting authority for this. It's just because of the size of the project that it has site plan review, and not because it's going to either zoning board or city council.
Okay, Alicia, thanks for the clarification. I guess, Brian, you'll just have to make sure that what you present to us is sort of the final and official, is reflecting the actual conditions on the ground, all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a question along those lines too, which is there's in the corner, outside of your red box, there were still some buses. When we looked at the images in the top right corner, I get the sense that that's open space. Is that the idea on the design?
Let me go back.
Okay.
So it's going to be a parking lot. So right now it's going to go back. The red space is the approximate boundaries of the 142 Mystic Ave, and where that bump out goes into 134 Mystic Ave.
Oh, so that's not the same property.
No, it's not the same property. We're going to go back to the original property lines for this.
Okay.
Brian, are you planning on implementing any sustainability initiatives into your designs, or any kind of low impact principles into the work that you're doing?
Like solar panels and like car charging stations. Is that what you mean? Or
permeable pavers, making sure that any windows, are well insulated.
Of course,
you can go in a million different directions.
Yeah, we're also working with the state on a couple of the HVAC incentives out there to do the ductless systems, and so that we're talking to everyone, and we're talking to a lot of different groups right now about doing a lot of that, especially the car charging stations right now that the state's pushing. So we are going to.
Yeah, and I'd encourage you to look at low tech options as well. So whether it's, and George probably knows a bit more about this than I do, but, in terms of, planting trees so that they shade in the proper direction, permeable pavers over a portion of your parking lot is a fairly easy thing to do.
Yep.
Can also help with long-term maintenance costs. Since I know you have a property management background.
Yes. Yeah. Keep the bills down. That's the key.
Yeah. Low CapEx, low OpEx. And, everybody has high happiness.
Yeah.
But just thinking about it that way. And then, I know that this property abuts, I forget what the road is on. I drive by it. I drive on it all the time to get home. It's not 93. It's the one in between 93 and Mystic. But, just be mindful of, that traffic as well as the realities of Mystic today. Because I really do appreciate that your project and some other projects that we viewed on the board will help, further develop Mystic into the avenue that we know it can be. But just be mindful of its realities today.
Absolutely. And we own other parcels on Mystic Ave, and so I am always looking at it to increase the value of not only that, but our neighbors as well. And what I really like about this project is our peak hours are when Mystic Ave is really at its slowest. Right now, like if you go there on Thursday, Friday nights, there's not a lot of people driving down Mystic Ave because there's not a lot of destinations. It's very heavy industrial 9 to 5, and I think this this project really checks a lot of boxes in terms of helping the city. I mean, right now, there's just a tow yard for the city of Somerville. It doesn't really do much.
No, they don't
good
need
for the
that.
city of Medford. No, we don't need that at all. Exactly.
Brian, just to pick up on something you almost offered to Emily there, and that is the solar, electric vehicle charging.
Mhm.
We could talk about bikes. We looked at another project just last month where they have a blue bike station that they're going to put in front of the new cannabis operator. Sort of all of those things by way of site plan review, we are definitely interested in.
Okay.
Answers for them now, that's fine. If you want to get your ducks in a row, just know that those are things that we're definitely going to want to see on plans.
Okay.
We're going to want to talk about when we get to the official meeting.
Okay. Got it. I don't have any of those answers right now, but I will.
Okay. No problem. That's why the informal meeting is so helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is a really good introduction to the project, Brian. Thank you. I'm just going to second what others on the board have said. I think I would encourage you to make like a full presentation of both the landscape and the building when you come before us, which should heavily include sustainability features for both the building and the site, or at least highlight what you plan on doing. And just a quick comment, and the reason I asked before about open space was that when I look, quickly at the sketch that you provided, it looks like a pretty large portion of the site would be paved. And I think for me, obviously we want to meet the zoning requirement, but things like, parking up against the property line, looking at things like that, like, because when I see that, what I really want to see is like a planting strip, so you can get trees, against, between you and your neighbors.
Yep.
Take a look at that entry road. It actually looks pretty wide to me. I'm wondering if there's a way to do a loop and sort of get rid of some asphalt and just think about, just put your thinking cap on and think about how you can reduce as much pavement as possible on the site, because I think, that's just a win for both you and the interest of the town, sustainability, et cetera. So thank you.
Okay.
Brian, if I can, just to echo some of what Kleis was bringing up there, certainly would like to see more greenery in front. Maybe this is not a realistic image, and maybe there's more to the plan than what we're seeing in the picture that's in front of us. Other thing to note, I'm scratching my head a little bit because I know in performance standards there is landscaping, I think landscape buffering, to pick up on again what Kleis is saying. Hey, we want to have some greenery between properties. I think that's a requirement now in the new ordinance. So that's something else that we'll look at, and you should look at between now and our next meeting.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, Brian, I what's the right way to say this? I'd really love to hear from both your architect or landscape architect on some of these things, because I think they bring a depth of knowledge that, you as the overseer of everything may not have.
Is there like a buffer, like foot-wise from your neighbor that you need to have? Is it grass? Is it greenery? Is it trees? Is it?
I think I'm going to jump in here, Brian. That's not our area of expertise. Is memorization of the code. I think this is something that you need to work with your team on. And just make sure that you're meeting those thresholds. I think our comments will be sort of, this doesn't feel right versus this isn't lawful. Thank you.
Can I ask a question of the city? And this may just be because I'm a newer resident, but is the long-term vision of Mystic that it's going to be like a pedestrian focused avenue What's the long-term vision of Mystic?
Thanks, Emily. I think that's a great question because I would say, yes, we
Okay.
do believe that there will be more and more pedestrian oriented things going on Mystic Ave.
Okay.
We are seeing proposals for residential properties. And even what we find now is that if somebody was to build a life science building, they would want their employees to be able to walk down the road to a cafe, cross the road.
A beer hall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, all their employees will want to go to the beer hall in the evening. And we're finding more and more of the younger employees are interested in biking and walking to work, particularly
Mhm.
biking if they're at any distance.
So the reason I asked that question is because, Brian, it looks like your monumental entrance is on the side of the building.
Yes.
And I also see that you have a beautiful patio directly up against, well, parking lot and then patio.
Yeah.
I feel like there might be an opportunity to connect your building with the street frontage of Mystic. Again, not to contrast my previous comment of the realities of Mystic today, but maybe investigate conditions where, you can switch that monumental entrance from the side to the front, whether it's, you have two doors right here. So, maybe those become future monumental entrances.
I mean, the only issue I see with that is we don't want people being able to like walk off with drinks. We just want that like confined area.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a safety issue on our end, liability.
Right.
Is that just something you could address with fencing around the perimeter of the patio? Just a second, what other board members were saying, I really agree with a lot of those comments. I also just want to add, I think programmatically, it's really a really nice use of the space. And I think it will add a lot of value to Mystic Avenue and a lot of value towards making Medford, more fun place to live. So it's a good thing.
Thank you.
And just to add to Emily's comment as well, on the landscape plan, I'm not seeing a sidewalk, and I do see on Google Maps that there are sidewalks on the adjacent properties. So I think the way that the project kind of engages the street in a way and engages pedestrians as they come by is going to be really important. And so that kind of leads me to the front lot, which is directly adjacent to the patio, to the west of the patio. And I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity to, you're kind of separating the whole pedestrian experience, what could be there from the patio with that. And I don't feel like that's the best use of space there.
So we didn't want to put the patio right up against Mystic Ave just because there's cars and trucks like daily passing. Like it's still heavy industrial, but we're hoping it changes over time. But I wouldn't want to be drinking a beer and having, fumes in my face. So
would you be able to buffer it with a green space, a planted green space, maybe like
instead of
it doesn't have
mulch?
to be a park, but it could be something.
we still, the parking is so valuable. Some of the complaints from the neighbors are we going to have enough parking here? And we have 126 spaces. We think we have plenty, but we think the parking is so valuable here than a park that would just be open to the public. Like, I don't think that's feasible.
What is the parking requirement?
I don't think I know we meet it, but I don't think the parking requirement is a lot in with the Medford guidelines. I know there's, restaurants on Main Street in Mystic Ave that don't have any parking, but
I mean, as an assembly use, I think, in a retail use, the parking requirement must be plenty. I just, again, for next time, but I'd be interested in knowing where you are versus what the zoning requires. I mean, again, this is we're just thinking about open space and all that, like this rendering, we've had conversations like this a lot in this board in the past. you know, I think I would urge you to be, actually, can you go back to that image?
Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep.
I would urge you to think really carefully about the exhibits you show, because you know, when you're presenting an image of a building, you know, I think in your mind it looks good, but there are certain images that show things to us that are striking. Like, and I can just make an example out of this one. The lack of texture on the building. Is it a stucco building? Is it a metal building? How are you doing that? It seems to lack some definition in that way.
Yeah.
You have an entry there, which doesn't seem to have a canopy and really doesn't really mark the presence well. That crosswalk is great, but where's it going? It's going to a grass strip.
Yeah.
Like, you know, these are all just little things that I like. Just be careful when you're presenting and showing these things, because sometimes you're going to make more trouble than you know. And that's sort of why I thought it would be important for you to have your designers involved in the next conversation, so they could talk through some of the bigger ideas here and why things sort of ended up the way they did.
Okay.
The lack of windows on the ground floor, which, looking at your program, I understand. But it does make it look kind of like a hulking mass of a building. I think there could be an opportunity here, whether it's through public art or something, to break up the mass visually. You know, kind of hint at what awesomeness is inside.
Yep.
I was curious, Brian, were you thinking of more windows than this? It seems
So
like the kind of use that wants to draw you in by way of seeing the fun that's happening inside.
yeah, so the fun inside is really in the interior of the space, while I'll go back to the floor plan. So 1 sec. So if you look at the floor plan here, the interior is really what drives the space. And so the exterior is going to be the food, the beer stalls, you know, there's really not a huge opportunity for windows along the sides, but where the patio is, absolutely, we're going to have as much windows as we can there on both floors. But we will have windows on the almost like the second level above the beer stacks. But if you're sitting inside, you're not gonna be like looking through a beer stack out the window, if you know what I mean. It's everything is around the perimeter, so all the seating is in the interior.
Okay, got it.
I mean, I'm thinking of what is it? Remnant Brewing in Somerville in Bow Market. And like you can see into, I know that that's a production facility, so it is slightly different.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're bringing up the night shift view,
Yep.
I know that one very well as well. I don't know, maybe it would be interesting to see into that, because this corner that we're looking at, you know, behind the couple, I think they're taking a selfie. You know, that's food A, sometimes labeled as retail A. You know, you could have, you know, some fenestration that gives an idea of what's in there.
Oh, on the exterior, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
some
yeah.
windows.
We're open to that, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all talking about windows on the outside.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We can windows on the outside.
Windows,
absolutely,
public
yeah.
art, just some way to break up the
I get it.
the
Yeah.
mass of the building, the volume of the building. Make it more human scale.
Okay. No, I totally understand that.
Brian, do you have an elevator in there to get to
Yes.
the mezzanine?
We do. Yes.
Interesting. And Emily already mentioned, but there's no production planned on site, right? These are going to be kegs and bottles that are brought in from offsite?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to have 2 food options as well. So Snappy Patties is going to be doing one of the, is going to have a burger, one of the food options. The other one's going to be pizza.
Just
Okay.
like rotating pop-ups.
No, it's going to be permanent. So
Permanent?
Snappy Patties,
Ooh.
yeah, will be permanent, as well as the pizza. And then we're going to have, for the outdoor, we're going to have some food trucks come in and service the outdoor, but so that will be obviously rotating, but yeah.
Where would those go?
Right where you can see where the where these parking spaces are. So right here.
That's a good use of that parking lot space.
Thank you.
Maybe mentioning programming like that would be beneficial.
Okay.
Okay, Brian, I think we've given you a bunch of homework.
Yeah, just overall thoughts. I mean, do you guys like this for the site? Just
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I can personally say that I think this is the kind of thing that Medford is dying for. So I think it's exciting. It's the area is it seems like the perfect use for this area. We're also looking at other projects in the vicinity. It'll be a one-stop shop for entertainment on Mystic Ave, but
Yeah.
you know, this will be great. You know, I encourage you to just, you know, keep going and thinking about the design. And I think a lot of the ideas about windows are also pretty important, and, you know, can only help you, because the more people drive by and see into your building and see all the people having fun, the more they're going to make that right turn and go in, you know? So, yeah.
I like it. This is very creative, and I, commend your commitment to the site.
Thank you.
And the corridor. So thank you.
Yeah, Brian, it seems like a really good project. You know, what this board tries to do, at least in my words, is to try to help these projects. You know, it's community development board. We're not here to obstruct projects. We're here to try to improve them, frankly. And so the feedback that you're getting from all of us tonight is intended to just try to help your project be better. You know, it's going to only add value to you if you make it that much more attractive. If you listen to some of the feedback from folks, we have a great board with really interesting perspectives, and folks really, have something to add. And we, Kleis can describe this better than I can, but sort of we represent the voice of kind of the community as it interfaces with the built environment. So we want to make sure that this thing's going to look nice and people are going to really like it, and it's a good reflection on the city, which is all really just saying good reflection on you too.
Yeah.
So, but the visuals are the most important thing for us. And like, we've got to see the green space, we've got to see the trees, we've got to see the buffers, we've got to see what your vision is on if it's a big wall, where's the mural, where's the detail? Like, we really want to see that stuff. So
okay.
I know we only have a couple weeks until our next meeting, but I do feel like unless you have folks who are ready to jump on it, you definitely have some work to do to kind of get it to where we could approve it, and we can help you further refine it.
So I just want to add one thing. Our small business loan is going to be contingent on us like getting through this meeting on the 26th. If we don't get through it, then this meeting, then if we don't get past, then we're not going to qualify, as the landlords are they're going to just exercise the options with the tow yard and the bus yard, and it's going to remain that way. So I know I have some work to do, but if that is a contingency for our small business loan.
Brian, it might make sense for you to set up a time to come in. I think you've been talking with Vic, but talk with Amanda and possibly myself and go through some of our performance standards, and we can talk offline soon to go through some of this stuff too. We can step through some of the details and requirements.
Can I also ask that, and city, please correct me if I'm overstepping, but outline how many jobs are present on the site today, whether it's the tow yard. I'm still a little unclear on, what other buildings are being demolished, and then how many jobs would be present on this site, kitchen, wait staff, whoever. I think that would be really useful information to have as well.
I can prepare that.
I think you're going to come up on top too.
What's that?
I said, I think we're going to like the numbers that you shared.
Oh,
with us, but
yeah.
it'd be great
can
to have that
almost
information.
Guarantee it's double, and it's going to be a lot better paying jobs than what's there now, but I'll have all that information for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for letting me jump in, David.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Otherwise, I'd like to thank Brian for his time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon and helping you get this project off the ground here in Medford.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Oh, okay, back to me. All right. Our next item. Well, Amanda, what do you think? Are the folks from the Tufts team ready for us?
Yeah, so I guess perhaps I'll ask Adam Dash and others from the team from Tufts. Would you like to go ahead now, or should we push another item in front of these?
This is Adam Dash from the, sorry. I'm having some issues with connectivity here. Hi, this is Adam Dash from representing Tufts. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had another item, that would be great, so I can sort of fix this connectivity problem, if I could.
Okay, we can do that. All right, then that leads us to our minutes. And we have 4 sets of minutes that we are looking to approve tonight, if acceptable to the board members. Let me ask generally, I'd like to try to do this in a streamlined manner if I can do that, as much as Attorney Dash might want me to take my time doing this. And that is to ask if any board members have specific comments about any of the 4 that they'd like to discuss before we start thinking about how we might go about an approval process. Would anyone like to raise anything for discussion on these 4 sets of minutes? Okay, excellent. So my thought was we have 4 of us who were at all 4 of the meetings. So my suggestion was going to be if Jackie or Deanna or Christy would like to make a motion to approve all 4, and then someone else in that group could second it, and then we could go to the roll call, and I'd kind of help you. We work through the roll call so we don't all have to say it 4 times. So if there's a motion out there to approve the minutes from board meetings from June 9th, June 22nd, August 18th, and September 8th.
I will give the motion. I make a motion to approve the board meetings from June 9th, 22, June 22nd, 22, August 18th, 22, and 9/8/22.
Excellent. And do we have a second for that motion from our select group?
I'll second that.
Okay, excellent. So let me do this as I go through the roll call. I'm going to, do we have unanimity? No, we don't have. Okay, I'll go through the roll call and then we'll see how many you're saying yes or no to. Okay, so we're going to start with our vice chair, Jackie Furtado. We're going to ask you a yes or no on all 4.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take that as a yes for all 4. Deanna Peabody, yes or no on all 4?
Yes, to all 4.
Christy Dowd.
Yes, to all 4.
Okay, excellent. Now let me ask for Kleiss, yes or no for June 9, June 22, and August 18.
Yes.
Excellent. And I have to ask Emily how she feels about the minutes for August 18th, 2022.
I wholeheartedly approve and say yes.
Okay, excellent. And so I am 4 thumbs up for the 4 minutes. Amanda, how do we do? All approved?
I think, are there any minutes that require George's approval?
I was there on September 8th, so I say yes to that one.
Great.
Okay, excellent.
Then I think we're good.
I thought you were an informal observer at that meeting, so my apologies.
Oh, that's true. Right. Informal observer. Yeah.
Either way, it's good to have your A. All right, Amanda, I think we've completed that item and we're ready for Tufts.
Great. Yeah, so I welcome Adam as well as, let me pull up my notes, I apologize. Other team members, Rocco DeRico and Jerry Frank, and anyone else from the Tufts team. I think first on our agenda was 2 to 4 Capon Street.
That's right. Yes.
And I believe I do need to read the notice.
Yes, apologies.
So let me get that formality out of the way, and we're going to start with Capon, right? Okay. So we're conducting a meeting tonight relative to an application for site plan review submitted by Walnut Hill Properties Corp. To demolish a non-conforming 4-family dwelling and construct a new 4-unit dormitory, allowed use with special permit per city council, at 2 to 4 Capon Street in Medford. Project is subject to a site plan review special permit as per our city zoning ordinance. And it requires approval from the Community Development Board for Dover Amendment uses. Therefore, site plan review approval shall be required from the Community Development Board. Okay, so I wanted to say just as background before we turn it over to the proponent that this is a Dover Amendment use. We do now under our new zoning have a section 11.8 that addresses the Dover Amendment uses, which include educational uses. As we know, it's religious uses, childcare facilities, solar energy systems, and some other exceptions that are there. And as a result of that, just for everyone's background, public included, these uses are given a little bit of deferential treatment under zoning. So we are conducting site plan review. We're offering the final decision. So this decision is not going to ZBA or city council. And we're really limited to either an approval or an approval with conditions to the site plan. We're literally under the ordinance not allowed to decline or reject the application unless they have failed to provide the information, which they did not do. So that is by way of background for everybody. So if Attorney Dash, you want to start on things and realizing that we have 2 to 4 Capon to talk about, and then immediately afterwards, we're going to talk about 50 Winthrop Street. So just to be fair, you know, if you inevitably you're going to touch on number 2 when you talk about number 1 a little bit, maybe we can abbreviate number 2 if you wrap some things up here in this first discussion, but we'll work that out as we go. If you want to, you work that as you like, is what I want to say.
Much appreciated, Mr. Chair. Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street in Somerville and Davis Square, representing Walnut Hill Properties Corporation, which is a wholly owned affiliate of Tufts and is the owner and applicant of 2 to 4 Capon Street. I will address just 2 to 4 Capon in this instance. I'll address Winthrop when you open that matter, although much of what I say is background. We can probably skip in the Winthrop part because it's just going to be duplicative. They're very similar in many ways. With us is Rocco DeRico from Tufts University. I believe Chris Hogan may be here as well, but I don't know that he's presenting. We'll see if up there is Chris. Jerry Frank from BFE Architects is here. I see him in his conference room, and he's going to be showing some slides. So let me just give you some background because this is a little bit of an oddball, I know, new situation with the new zoning. So as I said, that we're seeking a site plan approval of a Dover Amendment use and the owner as the owner and occupant in order to demolish an existing structure and construct a new structure for Tufts University student housing and residence director housing in the GR zoning district. You want to put up slide 2, Jerry? So the project is in the Coho district. I'm sorry, Alicia.
We don't see any slides.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, I apologize. I actually can't find Jerry on the participants list, and I'm wondering if they're under a different name.
We're under BFE Architects. Yeah, BFE Architects.
Sure thing. Thank you. So I will make you co-host, and you should be set now.
Down below. No, I gotta do it this way. Can everybody see this?
We are in business.
Thank you. Can you put it on slide 2? There we go. So that in the dotted red line is what we call the coho area, the community housing area. And this was a commitment from Tufts University to the city for projects that they do in this area, such as these. And there are a series of items that are requirements for coho projects. And you can see some of them are there on the screen. The Tufts will continue to pay taxes on the properties, that students will not be required, will be required to park on campus. They will not be parking at these properties, and that is part of the relief we're seeking. That the properties will not be used for fraternities or sororities, that each building will have a graduate resident director, that new lighting, security features, and bike racks will be there. And then there are other items such as occupants will be limited to 1 student per bedroom, and each unit will have a kitchen and a living room. And there'll be fire protection and fire alarm systems, accessible units and shared amenities, and bike racks will be installed and such. So there's more listed in the application. I won't go through the entire list. So this existing structure that's there is an extreme disrepair, and we'll go through this, is a pre-existing non-conforming structure and is not handicap accessible and is not energy efficient. The new structure will be in good repair, handicap accessible, and energy efficient. And again, we'll go into that. The Medford Historic Commission heard this matter on July 11th, 2022 on this project under the auspices of the demo delay ordinance, and they found this existing structure at Capon to not be significant, such that there was no demo delay imposed, clearing it for demolition. Before I have Jerry Frank from BFE Architects walk through the project details, I do want to go over the new zoning requirements for this Dover Amendment use just real quick. For section 11.8.3, it says that the Community Development Board's reviews are limited to 2 things. 1, whether the use qualifies for Dover protection, and clearly under the law, student housing does. And 2, what reasonable regulations can be imposed for bulk height, yard size, lot area setbacks, open space parking, and building coverage. So with that in mind, I will sort of wrap up and sort of flesh this out a little bit more, but I think Jerry, if you can walk the board through the next bunch of slides, that would be great.
Sure, happy to do. Before we leave this slide, first I'm going to introduce my colleague and associate Arthur Love, who's making sure that I keep some competence, technologically speaking, on here. Just to give you a little, in case the key is a little too small, the dark blue are the properties we're talking about. The lighter blues across the street are the Coho projects that have been completed. So we're again within the same neighborhood basically as has been approved by the Coho area plan. Next slide. What we have here on this drawing here is in the red is the existing structure that's been on site, a 2-family house, and the blue is the proposed new building on it. The existing structure goes into the setback limits that are kind, and we took great care to make sure that our building does conform within the setbacks of what we're talking about. Adam touched upon something. This is a project, and actually both projects are where there are goals that the university Tufts had laid out to us, which are very much in concert with what the city of Medford, when we have met with them, have talked about with this project. And one of them was the whole issue of housing, of creating housing that was is such a premium to bring that in as close to being on campus as one could get. Accessibility, and I'll point it just as you can see here, the grading, it's a tough site, so we're working very hard to bring the grade levels down so that we have an accessible building that can come in. Currently, you cannot access the building that's on site. The third element, which was so critical, is sustainability. Tufts, as I'm sure you're all aware, has a mandate to become carbon neutral. And this is one of the first projects that's really working in that endeavor to do that. So we are working, going on the guidelines or following, very aware of exceeding the stretch energy code to the passive house standards. We may not be going for certification of it, but triple pane windows, very incredible amounts of insulation, both for the entire envelope walls and roof are really being implemented here. And the last one was really integrity. We began this project, well, it's a year and a half ago, to really study what the two buildings were like. And we found that the building here had real, there were enough code violations, you know, to fill a book in terms of structural members that could not support proper roof loads in this day and age, walls that and the foundations that were totally porous, and we just really needed to do major repairs to the whole project, which is one of the reasons that this has gone new. Excellent. Just the view of the site plan that we've talked about in here. As Adam pointed out, there will be no parking on this site. There will be an area for loading, unloading. You can see that we do have bike racks. We are planning on doing some very nice planting in and around the building. But again, we have also talked about the pavers of, your permeable pavers. We are really, striving and taking the whole sustainability aspect incredibly seriously, which is where we should be in this day and age. We are containing trash in areas that will be secured to that, and obviously new lighting and all of the things that are conforming to what the Coho area plan was to really dictate to us. There is a garage that is sort of a drive up, almost like carport area, that's being demolished in favor of that drive up, drop off and entry area that takes you to the main entrance of the building. Next slide, please. Just as on the top left-hand corner is the existing structure that's on site at 24 Capon, and you can see there's no accessibility to it. So what we've done with our building, again, we're working hard with the notion of keeping something that is consistent with the neighborhood. I mean, especially across the street with the Coho buildings that were built a few years ago, and as well as just allowing a way to really access it and accommodate persons with special needs. This is the view on Winthrop Street coming in through there where the garage was. You can see that it's a very simple drive up and be able to enter into the building. Again, triple pane windows is what we're looking at, and actually quite thick walls of insulation. Excellent. That's it. I think the one of the big things that we've had in addition to striving to respect the setbacks area, is we've improved the height of the existing Capon structure is taller than what we're proposing in our project here. Even with the revised structural members and added insulation that we're putting in there to conform to the high sustainability requirements. And I think that's kind of what I have. Obviously, we can respond to questions or comments that you have. We do appreciate all the input that the city has given us thus far. It is very helpful. And again, we are feeling very much that the goals that have been established by Tufts are very much in concert with what the city is looking for.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. This is Adam Dash again. I just want to go through the sort of nuts and bolts here while we're doing this. I'm just going to let you know, we did have a community meeting on these projects back in June. Not required to, but we did. Regarding the second inquiry by the Community Development Board under the zoning ordinance, this project reduces the number of existing nonconformities and will now comply regarding front and side setback where it currently does not. The lot area, lot width, and lot depth are existing nonconformities. Obviously, those are not changing because the lot is the lot. I can't change that. So it is what it is. The building height is nonconforming currently and will remain nonconforming. However, we are reducing it by 1 foot. So it will be 39 feet and a requirement of 35 feet. So we would say it's not much of a violation, and it's actually lesser of a violation than is current. It'll stay the 3 stories. The parking nonconformity will be created in order for Tufts to meet the Coho requirements of removing existing parking, replacing it with a drop-off space, and that the students there would not be allowed to park on site. So that's the sort of a place where the zoning and the Coho rules sort of butt heads a little bit. But seeking relief, we feel under the circumstances is appropriate, and the bike spaces are being added, as is the Coho requirement, to offset this, and that's going to be 3 bike racks of 4 bikes each. So that's pretty significant. The Coho students will be parking on campus, as I said, not at this property. The proposed open space nonconformity is very small. It's 35.3% lot cover with a 30% requirement. So we would say this is basically 424.4 square feet, which is pretty small building footprint differential. And this is needed to carry out the Dover use by providing those required Coho things, such as the bedroom count that we need to do the dorm, plus to meet the Coho requirements of the interior layout and amenities, the 1 student per bedroom, the kitchen and living room per unit, the residence director's suite, the accessibility, all of that sort of takes up floor space with ramps and such. So to do that, we ended up with 424.4 square feet over, but that's, again, we would state de minimis. So in conclusion, an applicant seeks the site plan review to remove a decrepit, unsafe structure and replace it with an efficient, accessible, and safe one, which meets the Tufts Coho commitments to the city and brings more sustainability. So we think this is a win all around, and we hope that you would support it. Thank you.
Attorney Dash and your team, thanks for the presentation. Before I turn it over to the board to ask some questions, and then we'll get to the public comment period as well. Amanda, do we have anyone from the city staff who would like to speak or address this proposed project?
I don't believe so. No, not beyond the comments that were provided to the board ahead of time.
Okay, fair enough. Any initial board questions? If not, we'll go, or when we're done with that, we'll go to open it up to the public, and then we'll come back for further discussion, Q&A, and deliberation as a board. Anyone want to speak here as an initial matter?
I'll speak.
George.
Yes, looking at plan C2, also visible just in this elevation, the proposed porous paved, sorry, quite a mouthful, proposed porous paved drop-off area. In my experience with, porous pavements, sometimes they require maintenance and that causes them to fail. So was there any consideration for using like an open cell paver instead? Might require less maintenance as well.
Yeah, and I think that we talked about it. I should probably have used a better word if I had said porous about the permeable. There are many options, and as we're getting going and finalizing, the bidding and getting samples of that is something that we certainly would look at for maintenance. And we live this all the time on projects, is that you need to have something that holds up and can still shed, do this job for shedding water, absorb it back into the ground.
Great. That was my only comment. Thank you.
Okay, any other initial questions? I had a couple I was going to throw to Attorney Dash. If you could just, and again, this, if we have members of the public watching, might be informative to them as well. Can you give us a flavor of the adjacent properties? And I know across the street is the university itself. Is it Tufts controlled? Are the neighbors Tufts related?
That's a good question. Okay, Jerry, could you go back to the slide?
Yeah, we're going to go back to that
the Coho
slide.
map. Yeah, there we go. If you look on that, Mr. Chair, the dark blue are the proposed buildings we're talking about. The one on the bottom being Capon, the one on the top being Winthrop.
Right.
All the ones in light blue are existing Tufts properties, and the lighter blue, and then the other Tufts buildings are the light blue. So basically everything that isn't white is Tufts affiliated. So as you can see, pretty much Winthrop Street is pretty Tuftsy. So I mean, there are some houses in between. I think Rocco could probably talk about, as the community relations director, the relationship with the neighborhood there. But as you can see, this neighborhood is very much a Tufts neighborhood. And even those other houses that aren't Tufts owned often are rented to Tufts students.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, and thank you, David. Sorry to interrupt you there, but yeah, we were very intentional in picking these properties. Both properties are obviously owned by Walnut Hill, which is a subsidiary Tufts University, but also both properties are surrounded by either other Tufts properties. In the case of 50 Winthrop, you see that white house that's next to it. That abutter is a landlord who rents exclusively to Tufts students. And he was very supportive of the first round of Coho, and he's been supportive of this round of Coho as well. We've met with him several times, and he's okay with the project.
That's helpful. Thank you. Also, could you, Attorney Dash, maybe give us a sense like what's going on in this building currently versus, I know you've mentioned the number of students who will reside in the building going forward. I think that's relevant to some of those larger community issues that you were, mentioning in terms of where the students live and Tufts providing for its students.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Adam Dash again. Keep in mind the building, I believe, is vacant right now.
Okay.
So we're proposing for Capen four units with a total of 21 student beds and 1 resident director bed for a total of 22 beds in this property. So that's our plan right now. I don't think it's even habitable. Rocco, I guess you could probably verify that.
That's correct. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I believe the city has deemed the property uninhabitable. There was a gentleman who lived there for a number of years, let the property go into disrepair. And I don't know if it was officially condemned by the city, but it certainly wasn't inhabitable. When he left to go to assisted living, he put the house on sale, and then we got it. So I don't think anyone's lived there for a few years. And it's, after going through it, it was not savable.
Okay, thank you for the information. Amanda, do we have members of the public who'd like to speak on or ask questions or participate tonight?
I haven't yet received any written comments, but I would welcome folks, and it looks like we have a hand raised in the public currently. You can raise your hand to let us know that you want to speak. I'll add you to the queue, or you can in the chat indicate that you'd like to. Assuming, Chair, that we are going into public comment portion of the evening.
I was prepared to move forward to that. And I think you also have an email address that folks could use if they wanted to as well, right?
Yes. So if anyone wants to send a written comment while we're going through this tonight, you can email at ocd@medford-ma.gov, and I will put that in the chat. And if you do that, I just ask that you include your name and address for the record.
And to mimic what you just said, if you're recognized here and have an opportunity to speak, which we hope you will do, please give us your name and address for the record before you start your comments. Okay, so we do have at least one hand that's up. Am I seeing this correctly, Amanda?
Yes. Yes. So Mike, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Mike Korzinski, if you'd like to speak.
Yep, you got my name right. Thank you. So my name is Mike Korzinski. I'm at 149 Burgett Ave in Medford. I guess so my question here is how is Dover being conferred here if Tufts is not the property holder of record? So the property holder is Walnut Hill Properties, which if I look at the properties they own, even in that Coho district, they own the building that, Dana's Pastry House is in. So like what determines how are you deciding to confer the deference of Dover to Walnut Hill? I mean, if the person at 52 Winthrop in the white box on slide 2, if they were to form a 503C and said they were going to, Rocco had said earlier they rent exclusively to Tufts students. So if they were to form a 503C and rent exclusively to Tufts students, would they be entitled to deference under Dover? So I think this came up in the beer hall thing. Something about it just doesn't quite feel right with Tufts not being the deed holder and Walnut Hill themselves asking for the Dover deference.
Mr. Krasinski, I appreciate your comment and your question. And And that's certainly fair and relevant to our discussion tonight. I'm going to ask my brother, Attorney Dash, would you like to touch on that issue for us and help the public understand the connection between Walnut Hill and the educational uses of Tufts?
Mr. Chairman, if we've lost Adam, I'm happy to jump in. Which
Okay.
looks like he's to black, but just to be clear, Walnut Hill purchased the property. Walnut Hill is a 501c3 nonprofit. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Tufts University. This building will be owned and operated by Tufts University, just like in the first round of Coho. Once we begin using it as a dormitory, we switch over the ownership to Tufts University. So I promise you it will be owned, operated, and staffed by Tufts University itself once we begin using it.
Mr. Kaczynski, did you have a follow-up? The floor is still yours.
Oh, I mean, I guess I don't understand then why they don't own it today, but I'm not sure. I mean, me and Rocco can both give our best guess, but I guess Adam would be the person who maybe could answer the question the best. I don't know.
I mean, to be quite frank, it's just a matter of timing. We're going to switch over the deed. The deed transfer is in process. It just takes time to do it. So before we would again before we would occupy or use the building, it would be transferred fully over to Tufts University. But again, I should echo that Walnut Hill is a 501c3. It is a nonprofit. It does serve educational needs.
But not every 501c can claim Dover.
Colleges and universities can't.
Right. But Walnut Hill is a property management and development company, right?
That works exclusively for a college/university. They provide university housing. They just provide university housing for faculty and staff. So since this will be student occupied, it will be owned by Tufts University.
But they also own a bunch of property on Boston Ave, right? Like Danish Pastry House, Tamper, like those buildings too. So like, what's the line? If
Rocco, if I might, the law doesn't actually say that it has to be owned by a school. It has to be for the religious, educational use or childcare center. So it could be, as long as it is dedicated for educational use, it is covered by Dover regardless of the ownership. There needs to be some understanding by the city as to how that is an educational use, and housing has been deemed by the court system as an educational use.
If I can just add a couple of thoughts on there for Mr. Kaczynski or any other members of the public, I think what I'm hearing from Mr. Tirico is that this project is going to be Tufts and it won't be Walnut Hill. Technicality for their application today, but it's Tufts. And I think we would agree, and I'm sure he would agree with us, that if it was in a different name, then might be a different question. If Mr. Tirico, I guess I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but I would presume that if suddenly we drove past and we saw Tufts or a Tufts entity leasing this out to Danish Pastry House, you probably would have, it wouldn't be a Dover amendment anymore, right?
That's correct. Dover amendment is not, as Alicia pointed out, not about ownership. It's about use. And this will be used for educational purposes. It's going to be used to house our students. And the Dover amendment has time and time again said that housing students is part of an educational use. So this will go to support our mission and is thus protected by Dover.
And either of you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to sort of think through it in my mind and articulate it to help others. Is part of this Coho arrangement and the 20 points that Tufts has committed to in terms of its relationship with the city and what it will do with these properties or not do with these properties, as the case might be, is all presumed that this is Dover Amendment use, and specifically, yes, it's going to be educational use only. This is core stuff we're talking about, right? This is not a for-profit venture of a subsidiary of Tufts. Is that that
That's
fair?
absolutely correct. And you know, the word coho itself stands for community housing, meaning that we're housing our students in the community. So all these properties are being used to house juniors and seniors.
Okay, and this discussion that we're having now, just so you know, we can save a little bit of time on our second project tonight. I think everything we're saying here, and just confirm with me, everything we're saying about this property also applies at 50 Winthrop.
That's correct. There's a deed transfer in process there, and it'll be the same exact use. And again, Dover is about use.
Mr. Chair, I might ask, does Mr. Krasinski actually have an objection or concern about the project? Because it is within the scope of this board. I think that the bottom line is that the board understands the Dover use and has every intention of accepting this as a Dover project. But we have the opportunity to, if there are concerns that residents have about the project, we may be able to actually address specific concerns through this hearing process and through this hearing tonight. So if there were actual like specific concerns about the project itself, we'd be open to hearing those at this hearing.
Yeah, and I feel
No, just in this case, my concern was literally just that you're conferring Dover to Walnut Hill Properties, and that's a property management company, and it doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't feel correct. Whether, I mean, if it transferred, that's fine, but as it is, it doesn't feel correct.
Amanda, do we have other members of the public who would like to speak on this project?
Confirming I haven't received any additional emails yet. If any others would like to provide comment, please raise your hand, or actually you may be able to use the chat to let me know. I'm just going to give everyone a second to respond. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised or comments made.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for the comments that we did receive. Board members, do we have questions for the Tufts team on this project? Any hands? No? I'll jump in. I guess I have a couple of questions to ask. And we're talking 2-4 here, not 50 yet, but is there more? I guess if I looked at what I think of as the corner, so it's not this view, but.
Yeah, Arthur, could you, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just had a question about, and I know you've got some elevation that you're working with, and maybe George, you can help me out because you know this area better than I do, but in terms of the landscaping, is there more to be done, or is there a more of an opportunity in terms of a tree or some feature that could make more prominent where you have that connection where those sort of walls come together there at the sidewalk?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just make one note, in terms of adding trees to that corner, we actually had a discussion with the traffic engineer. And due to the sight lines, he asked us, I think actually in our original plans, we had a tree at that corner, and he asked us to remove it because of the concern of the sight lines for vehicles traveling on Cape and vehicles coming down hard on Winthrop. But I think, you know, I'll defer to the architects, but I think we've added trees in other parts of the property.
We've had it, as well as some other ground cover. I think we're trying to be also careful of not having plants in there that critters could be hiding out in and doing things. So there is a balance in it. But yes, I think we have in plans of looking at other types of low ground cover or some smaller shrubs in there to soften.
Yeah, the front of the lot facing Capon Street. So that's the side that is visible to us there. Your plans show it drawn as a 3-to-1 slope. So it's not really feasible to use that as a seating lawn or, a usable lawn space. So, it definitely would be possible or even advisable just to plant some low shrubs or some low ground cover there.
Yeah, like the pachysandras and those types of things that are very hardy and would would take to that very large universe. Another
Yeah.
one that comes up. Yeah,
Or,
absolutely.
or something native as well, definitely highly encourage
Yeah.
using native plants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're looking at native and sort of drought resistant. That's been sort of really the mission that's been given to us to be, very cognizant of.
Okay, so if not reflected today, that's on your wish list, so to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in a word, yes. Yeah, I think that the goals, again, I feel are very compatible with what Tufts is looking for, and I think what the city is looking for is, we want to be very proud and, be good neighbors. I mean, continue what's been started already on Winthrop Street, and, really create something that's in harmony.
Right. Other questions from board members? No. We did receive letters from various city departments. So I didn't know if there was anything in particular that Tufts had issue with in terms of requirements or recommendations from our various departments, or if you're comfortable with what's been presented there.
Madam Chair, Adam Dash again. Sorry, I've been having a little connectivity issues. Yeah, as far as that goes, I mean, I would note that those items coming from the various departments aren't really zoning related, they're more building permit related. And we do appreciate the departments bringing them up early in the process, because sometimes these don't come up until the end and then everyone's surprised. But as far as, things like sidewalks and such, it's really not, I guess, in our opinion, a site plan review matter. And if one goes back to the zoning ordinance and the 2 areas of review by the board, they're really a little out of the scope. But we will, as we go through the building permit process, we will certainly work with engineering and public works and everybody else, as we always do, to go forward and have these items, worked through. Rocco, is that right?
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I don't think we have any objections to the recommendations. As Adam said, once we go through permitting, as we do on all our projects, we work with the city of Medford to address their concerns and incorporate them into the project as best we can.
Okay, so I guess stated differently, you don't see anything in there that is problematic at this point, and your intent is to work with the city departments and cooperate with those requirements and recommendations.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, we're being asked to accept with conditions the site plan review.
David, this is Deanna. We do usually condition the board, the department head notes, though, as part of site plan review, don't we?
Absolutely, and I think we could someone could offer a motion to approve site plan with the condition that Tufts works with the city departments to resolve all of the requirements and recommendations that have been put forward in these various letters.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Excellent. Thank you, George.
May I actually raise a housekeeping matter
You
for
may.
this project? Thank you. When the other coho projects were approved, that was done through the ZBA process, because that's how we handled Dover before the changes to our zoning. And they attached the document that has been referenced this evening, the January 4th, 2018 Apartments for Juniors and Seniors University Commitments for ZBA Review. I have a copy of what was attached, and nothing you've said this evening seems to be is different from the document that I have. And I think that it would be appropriate for us to say that we anticipate that these same commitments are being followed. like, so I was expecting that to be one of the conditions this evening, but I do want to confirm that the version that I have in hand is the version, that is what was sent to the board this evening, is also what Rocco and the Tufts group have. I don't want to accidentally attach a wrong version.
Is that, is that something that can be done very quickly right now? Is everyone-
I was going to say I could try to review it quickly if it was from the ZBA decision of round one of Coho. Yes, we will still agree to those 20 conditions, and those 20 conditions will apply to these properties. We actually created that list ourselves after getting, significant feedback from the neighbors. That was based on, all 20 of those requests were generated from neighbor meetings and neighbor comments. So as long as we can say that it's the exact same list that we agreed to when we went to the ZBA in phase one of the process, yes, we will commit to those same 20 commitments.
Right. And I will tell you that this was provided to Amanda and myself by Dennis McDougall, the secretary of the zoning board.
So that I feel comfortable with that. If it's from Dennis, I feel comfortable that him being the ZBA secretary, that lines up with what was passed in round one. I'm trying to remember the year. I think it was 2017, but whichever year it passed the ZBA.
I can confirm that in previous ZBA decisions, it refers to this document, so named, like apartments for juniors and seniors, ZBA commitments, and it gives the date of, I think, like January 2018.
Yes.
And it has the 20 conditions on there. So I do feel pretty confident that it is the same version.
So many of the things that Rocco's referenced tonight about bike racks and that the parking, there wouldn't be parking spots, there would be accessible parking only and drop off, things about fire protection and fire alarm systems, graduate resident directors at a certain ratio, the neighbor meeting prior to construction. I think you've actually already held the neighbor meeting.
Right.
That's correct, Alicia. Yep. That was held on June 9th.
Right. I feel like the only thing that you didn't mention didn't come up in this set was residents not being allowed to have barbecue grills, only organizations can request barbecue grills.
And that's correct, Alicia, and that any of the Coho rules and regulations would extend to these two properties. So students are not allowed to have barbecues or have propane tanks or anything on these properties.
Right.
And each unit will actually have its own graduate resident director. So we actually exceed the commitment of the first round.
Right. And the very first one on here is that Tufts University will continue to pay real estate taxes on these properties.
That's correct. Yeah, I actually have it open on my desktop now, Alicia. So I think we're both looking at the same document, and as we committed back in 2018, we will continue to pay real estate taxes on these properties so that the city doesn't lose any revenue.
Great, thank you. And honestly, I was repeating some of them so that the board members were, because this was provided to the board, frankly, minutes before this meeting started. I apologize that it didn't come to you earlier.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just want to correct the record. I believe when I said the student bed count, I was actually speaking about Winthrop Street. So for the record, for Capon, I pulled the wrong plan in front of me. I apologize. They're very similar. That the Capon one will have 4 units with 28 student beds and 1 residence director for a total of 29 beds, just to correct that.
Okay. That's actually what I thought I heard you say, but
oh, well, then,
then we'll give you credit for
one of the two things is possible.
Okay, all right, thank you for those clarifications. Deanna, you had offered a motion. I guess if you want to perhaps clarify that motion to say that we would be approving the site plan with the condition that Tufts continues to work with the department, city departments to resolve all requirements or recommendations, and to also condition this site plan approval on continuing to comply with the 20 points of what I'm calling the Tufts 20.
Tough 20, yeah. Okay, I'll make that motion.
Excellent. Do we have a second for that?
This is Christy. I'll second.
Thank you, Christy. Okay, roll call. Let's start with Jackie Furtado,
Aye.
Deanna Peabody,
Aye.
Clyde Andreasen,
Aye.
Christy Dowd,
Aye.
Emily Hedman,
Aye.
George Fisher,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next somewhat related item with the same team. Let me read the notice that I have to read for all of these. This is related to 50 Winthrop Street. So the meeting discussion will be relative to an application for site plan review submitted by Walnut Hill Properties Corp. To demolish a non-conforming 4-family dwelling and construct a new 4-unit dormitory allowed use with special permit per city council at 50 Winthrop Street in Medford. Project is subject to a site plan review special permit per our zoning ordinance and requires approvals from the Community Development Board for Dover Amendment uses pursuant to Section 11.8. Therefore, site plan review approval shall be required from the Community Development Board. And so let's turn things over to Attorney Dash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Adam Dash, 48 Grove Street in Davis Square in Somerville, representing Walnut Hill Properties Corporation, a wholly owned affiliate of Tufts. And this is regarding 50 Winthrop Street seeking site plan review. Again, with me are Rocco DeRico from Tufts, Jerry Frank from BFE Architects. Now, Jerry, if you want to swap over the slide deck, it's similar, but not quite the same. And again, this is a project to demolish an existing structure and construct a new structure for Tufts University student housing and residence director housing in the GR zone. And this one will be doing 4 units of 21 student beds and 1 resident director bed for a total of 22. I won't go through all the stuff here, but if you look at the Coho map that's in front of you, you can see at the top there is the nearby 50 Winthrop Street property in the dark blue. And again, this is another situation where the existing structure is in extreme disrepair, and as a pre-existing non-conforming structure is not handicap accessible and is not energy efficient. And the new structure will be in good repair, handicap accessible, and energy efficient. Again, the Medford Historical Commission heard this matter back in July 11th, 2022 through the demolition delay ordinance and found the existing structure to be not significant, such that the demolition delay does not apply and the demolition could go forward. I guess I want to just, I won't go through what the Dover Amendment zoning says. So I guess, Jerry, you want to jump right to the slides and
Sure, we'll go to the, yeah, come on. Yeah, we'll go to the next slide. But yeah, again, well, as we did with the other one, as you can see in red is the existing outline of 50 Winthrop Street, and in blue is our new building for it. What you'll notice right away again is we were able to get all this, the entire building within the setbacks required of that, which was great. The exact same issues, and Adam was absolutely correct, is that accessibility, the other building had all these different levels. It was really near impossible to make it accessible. We have achieved that here with the new structure. In there, you'll see that there's the space where there's garage is actually the loading, offloading is up in the back and through there, taking it off of Winthrop Street, Emory, sorry, but it's off of Winthrop Street onto Emory. And I think you want to go to the next slide. We can kind of just do, again, the same bits that we have in there. As you said, that we do better on the proposed setbacks as required. In the cases that in here, we are doing better in the lot coverage. And we're under the required height of 35 feet. We're at 34.5 feet. Same issues, all of the sustainability issues, absolutely parallel what we just spoke about on Capon Street. Really, striving in towards the passive house criteria. on there as best as we can, both in terms in harmony with what the city is looking for, as well as Tufts mandate for their future growth. You get the two views. Again, the notion of putting something that is very much in harmony with the neighborhood across the street in there.
Thank you, Jerry.
I open it for any questions. Again, resident involved. One thing that probably didn't get stated there is that we talked about the resident director. That's a fully accessible unit in each case. And the criteria, the ratios, of 1 to 40, we're bettering. It's really 1 resident advisor per 25 that we have here, which is, we're doing even better.
Excellent point, Jerry. Adam Dash again. There was a community meeting back in June of 2022 where we discussed Winthrop Street as well. This actually is even an easier one than the Capon Street project, because we are, for Winthrop, as Jerry said, correcting existing nonconformities on side setback, lot coverage, building footprint, and open space, and those are all being brought into compliance. Of course, as with the other one, the lot area, lot width, and lot depth are existing nonconformities that we can't do anything about because the lot is the lot, and it is what it is. And then the parking is the only other item here because we have no building height issue and we have no open space issue. So really, it's just the parking. And again, this is a COHO requirement to remove the parking and replace it with a drop-off area, which requires that relief. So this one actually is a much simpler project. And again, there are going to be bike spaces that are added, 3 racks of 4 bikes each to offset the lack of parking here. And again, the students would be required to park on campus, not here. So in conclusion, the applicant seeks a site plan review to remove a decrepit, unsafe structure and replace it with an efficient, accessible, and safe one, which meets the Tufts COHO requirements with the city.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Any initial questions before we seek some public comments? Amanda?
Yes, so I invite anyone from the public who, or I'm sorry, I should say, before we go into public comment, I have not received any written comments on this yet. And for anyone who's interested in submitting a written comment, you can email ocd@medford-ma.gov, and you would just need to include your name and address for the record. And if the board is so inclined and wants to move into public comment, folks can begin by raising their hands or using the chat function to let me know.
Sure. Do we see any activity? If folks in the public could let us know if they'd like to participate, we'd be happy to hear from you.
I'm just going to give it another couple seconds, but not seeing anyone as of yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Any additional questions from board members for the Tufts team on this site? I guess I just wanted to ask a question then, and that is, comparing these two, at the first site, there was not, you have a driveway here and then you have a path, and I know you have accessibility challenges and improvements that are being made at both locations. Can you just sort of walk me through? The driveway is here, but the driveway is not in the other building. Is that something that, like, what is the driveway's role here if there wasn't one on the other building?
Adam, I could take the first bit of that.
Sure,
we
go
have
ahead.
an existing curb cut here where there was, a driveway coming through there, and rather than try to put something out on Winthrop Street, and likewise at Capon, the same thing. There was a curb cut and a parking area, and we, basically wanted to use the same curb cut that already existed to provide it. And what we were able to do, since in this case, the existing curb cuts to the side, we do want to be able to have access and accessible access to the front of the building, which is why we did that. On Capen Street, the parking was right there, so the access was just by there. So it was, in a way, that it's as sort of simple as that. We really were working with the existing curb cut areas to do that.
Okay, and that's the spot for the accessible parking, and then
Correct.
you need the walkway or the
Correct, to take you to the
Okay.
front door, correct.
Okay, all right. We're always pushing for more open space or more green space, so.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we wanted to, try
Yeah.
to get as much open space as possible on the site as well, but accessibility is also a top priority. We want to make sure that any students are able to live at these properties and that they have the same, they're able to enter through the front door. They don't have to, go around the sidewalk and all that other stuff. So it's really to make sure that it's fully accessible for all of our students.
Understandable. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or
I guess
concerns?
I have a quick question.
Please, Claes.
Go back to the rendering. Are you really going to build these projects and leave the sidewalks in complete disrepair out front of them?
Like, so I just want to note that in this one, on the engineering comments from the city, they note to condition repairing the sidewalk and repositioning the crosswalk as part of off-site improvement.
Okay. Thank you, Deanna. I just found it curious that you went through the trouble of doing this nice rendering and left the sidewalk.
It's funny you
I had
mentioned
the
that.
same thought.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that because when we originally did the renderings, we did all new sidewalks and it looked too kind of not real. So we kind of
We gave it character,
Yeah.
because what it is, but I think the engineering that saw to it, otherwise we will repair, because it needs to be safe, it needs to be, functional, well, so.
Thank you.
Of course.
Good question and good eye as always, Claes. Thank you. All right. Well, not hearing more questions or comments from the board. If someone would like to offer a motion, if we're at that point, sounds like a good idea.
I'll do it. Motion to accept.
Okay, George, that'd be a motion to approve the site plan.
Yes, correct. Sorry, approve.
And would we have the same conditions presumably here as we did with property number 1 tonight, that being Tufts' commitment to follow the Tufts 20, as I'm calling it, and to work with the city departments to the extent requirements, recommendations have been made in the letters that were circulated to the board.
Including the off-site improvements. I just want to add that.
I think those, sure. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, I would add those conditions. Yes.
Excellent. And do we have a second for George's, I believe it's his inaugural motion.
With conditions.
This is Christie, I'll second.
Thank you, Christy. And we'll go to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Jackie Furtado.
Aye.
Deanna Peabody.
Aye.
Claes Andreasen.
Aye.
Christy Dowd.
Aye.
Emily Hedman.
Aye.
And George Fisher. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, Attorney Dash and the whole team, appreciate your participation. Thank you for presenting on both of these, and best of luck with the improvements you're making in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board,
you,
members
Mr.
of
Chair.
staff. Yeah,
Good board.
it's been a very efficient, great process under this new zoning. Looking forward to many more.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Okay. I think we have Amanda, tell me, am I right? We only have one more item on our list for tonight. And that is to discuss future meetings in kind of a larger sense. And that is an idea, and Amanda can speak to it as well, but to actually sort of pick a day, first and third Tuesday, first and third Wednesday, first and third Thursday of each month, so that we have meetings that are on the calendar. If we don't have matters to deal with, we don't have to meet. A meeting could be canceled, but it would give us some ability to lock in our calendar. And maybe most importantly, for folks who are applying to see us, they would then have like a deadline to get their submissions in by X date to get to Y meeting. So that was a proposal Amanda has raised. I think it's a good one. Amanda, do you want to give the board members your perspective and
Sure. Yeah, and I'll try to keep it quick because I know you guys have accomplished so much tonight. I'm just, so the way that I'm coming at this, as of now, the board obviously meets kind of as needed and as projects come to them. And I think that flexibility is intended to help and accommodate applicants. But I also, just in the span that I've been helping out with you guys, it does feel like in some ways we kind of lose time on the scheduling end. And it also, I think, puts some pressure on you guys to convene and, there's less predictability on your end. So I guess I'm just thinking that I wanted to pose this all to you to see how you would feel about potentially moving to a standing meeting. I think to make some of the regulatory timeframes that are attached to site plan review and other processes that this board has purview over, it would require potentially having 2 standing meetings a month. And, during some periods of time in some months, you would only meet once or maybe not at all, depending on how busy things are at that point in the year. It feels like that's kind of the average meeting pace amount of meetings that happen as is currently. And I think having the 2 meetings per month would also, previous members of the board have talked about wanting to make sure that there aren't these really, really long marathon meetings. And so having, that the option for 2 meetings a month, I think kind of assuages that concern a little bit too. But obviously this is entirely up to you all and what you're comfortable with and what you'd be interested in. And so just wanted to kind of float it by you and see initial impressions.
I like it. I'm more predictable. I can have my schedule, the better.
I support it as well. Good idea, Amanda.
Others have thoughts on whether that would work for them?
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, George.
I agree, it works.
It's
Perfect.
funny, I was just thinking about this. I literally was just thinking, because Wednesdays are hard for me. And so today I was telling someone I got to get home from meeting on Wednesday. It was like, oh, do you meet every 3rd Wednesday? And I'm like, no, it's whenever we can. He's like, oh. So we were just discussing this whole thing. So this works.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone. And does it make
Let me
sense?
ask Claes.
I'm so sorry. Claes,
That's okay.
please.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, so do folks want to talk about like potential days of the week tonight, or should we leave that? Obviously, we already have 2 meetings on the calendar. So the 26th being the next and the 10th of November being the following, where we could spend some more time. And obviously in between then, over email could narrow things down. I feel like it could benefit me to have a little bit of time to understand like when I should be setting kind of submission deadlines for and things like that, and how it may align with ZBA, because obviously, or oftentimes, projects come to us before them. And so how do we, link up with them? But yeah, just what are you all thinking for tonight?
Amanda, do you need to do legwork, or could, if we said first and third of the month blank, is that enough coordination, like with ZBA schedules and stuff like that? Does it really matter if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of those 2 weeks, or?
Fair. I'd want to think about if there are other standing meetings during those weeks. But what I could do with you all here is, if you're thinking first and third Wednesday, for example, or Thursday, between now and next time, or over email, I can do all of that vetting so that we solidify it next time around.
Does that sound good to everybody? And we probably should try to stay away from Wednesday, given Jackie's schedule.
I just want to ask if there are any particular boards and commissions the committee would want to stay away from, conflicting with, and because I see it as zoning board being an issue. I assume city council is kind of an issue. I will let you know that this current city council's plan is that they have a regular council meeting every other Tuesday, and they generally have a committee of the whole every Tuesday or Wednesday that's not a regular city council meeting. They're meeting usually twice a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. As far as staff goes, there are some committee of the wholes and subcommittee meetings that we have to attend, but where the council believes we need to attend, they schedule those with us. So they would always say to me, we want you to be at this meeting. Are you, like, does that conflict, or which, here are some dates, which ones work for you? Because they understand that we have requirements to be at other evening meetings as well.
Does that lead us to think that Thursdays are the best days? I mean, if there's
It
no
really,
special-
honestly, I feel like it is. Thursdays are the best unless there's some other issue. As far as I'm aware, and scanning the city's calendar, the Historic District Commission meets on Thursdays. The Medford Arts Council showed up once on a Thursday. But it's not that many.
And if we went, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have class that begins at 6:30 on Thursdays. So if we could meet starting at 6, and then I can, coordinate with my professors. Or, maybe talk to Alicia and Amanda offline about, my board involvement, to stay reasonable to myself as well as to what this board needs.
Emily, is that something that you foresee going on all year, or is that a this semester class?
At least until the middle of December.
So October, November, December.
Yeah. And then I can potentially massage my schedule next semester so that I don't have classes on Thursdays.
Well, I think November is pretty much, we already have our dates. I mean, I would hope that we wouldn't have a meeting in the last week and a half in November. And if December is maybe a one-off, maybe those Thursdays, because you're a valuable member, we want to work around your schedule. Maybe Thursday is something that can work after December.
And David, and I appreciate you trying to accommodate my schedule too, but the worst case scenario for me is I would be a half hour late. But I would be able to, if I can't leave early enough, or I can do what Christy so dedicatingly did today, and I'll just, I can call in. It's just a matter of getting from Boston to Medford by 6 o'clock. Even if the meetings were 6:30, that would help, but there's so many other ways I can make it work. So I don't want you to exclude Wednesdays just for me.
Right. So when I look at the city calendar, we tend to schedule public meetings. But that doesn't mean we have to. It helps when we know enough in advance that, like, if we're not going to have a CD board meeting, and then that opens it up for me and Amanda for other things.
And does ZBA meet on Thursdays as well?
Yes.
And do
They're
they
the last Thursday?
last Thursday? Once a month? Okay.
And I'm just flipping through. So it's the Bicycle Commission that meets Wednesday nights. We don't attend those. I'm seeing other special meetings on my calendar. Looks like the Elections Commission is going to be meeting Wednesday nights. We don't attend those regularly for work. And then Conservation Commission, and I generally don't attend those unless it's a very sensitive situation or very large project.
So is it something where we could look at, maybe it's Wednesday for anything we need to do in December, but maybe it's Thursday beginning in January? Emily,
Could
does
we
that?
flip back and forth, or would that be too inconvenient? First Wednesday, third Thursday.
I don't think there's anything that bars us from doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as everybody pays attention to their calendar and not their memory.
Yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate things, so.
Okay, my calendar's so complicated that I have to live by it. It's
Same.
Okay, I mean, I don't think we have to offer a formal motion or anything, vote on this thing. I just want to make, if we're going to go for it. I also want to try to make it work as best we can. So Wednesday and Thursday alternating, if that makes a difference and that gets everybody to participate, then that's, I think, a good answer.
And we can meet later on Wednesdays.
And I'll suggest this, the third Wednesday, because that gives us just one more day for the next ZBA, which is the last Friday. And then the first ones on like first Thursday and third Wednesday, right? We were saying first and third.
Yeah.
And that way, that one that's closer to ZBA, we have just one more day.
And the Wednesday, we need a little bit later. Is that what I was hearing?
Would 6:30 work?
6:30 would definitely work. I think I would always get here. I don't want to jinx it, but
If you're taking the tea, you never know.
exactly. And I do take the tea because if you drive, I wouldn't get here until about 7, 8.
And then, I mean, we've got the associate member, hopefully will be filled at some point. Deanna, we're, love having you on board, but we need to have a successor for you. And so, if we have standing meetings, I feel like it's not such a bad thing if a board member misses every now and again, if you have something that pops up. It seems to me the value of the standing meeting outweighs missing one person here or there, one or two, so. How do we do, Amanda? Was that good?
I think that's great. Yeah, thank you all. Let's do it. I'll look at, I guess, starting in December, that first Thursday being our potential one for then, and then we'll go from there into the next year.
Okay.
All right. One final note for the evening. So as many of you have been following along and with the comprehensive plan, there's a draft that's been out for public comment for a couple weeks now, and the comment period on that draft and the implementation chapter attached to it will be closing on Friday. So if you or anyone you know has some ideas or comments on what's out there, we welcome them. But yeah, you can send them in Friday, either to me, you guys have my address, but also compplan@medford-ma.gov, or you can visit the website that we have devoted to the comp plan, medfordcompplan.org. And there's the draft on there. There's an input form for if you want to submit input that way as well. So please feel free to spread the word within your own networks, and of course, reach out if you have any comments or questions on that.
Okay, I think we're ready to entertain the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And a second.
Seconded.
I said we'd be all roll call tonight. So sure, Jackie Furtado,
Aye.
Anna Peabody,
Aye.
Claes Andreasen,
Aye.
Christy Dow,
Aye.
Emily Hedman,
Aye.
George Fisher.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Thanks, everybody. I think we got a lot accomplished tonight. Appreciate everyone's involvement, participation, feedback, everything. It was good stuff tonight. Thank you very much.